So I just assumed the highest mountain was Mount Everest. And then this thing popped up yesterday. It was like, Mauna Kea is the highest mountain in the world. I'm like, no, it's not. I was up there. Like, it was about 13,000 feet. It's not the highest mountain. I was up there. That's wrong. So then I looked in and I was like, highest mountain. And it was like Mauna Kea. Like, the world's tallest mountain technically is not Mount Everest. This is last night after I did this meditation, by the way. So Mount Everest is the tallest mountain above sea level. But if we're talking sheer height base to summit, then the tallest mountain is Mauna Kea, the island of Hawaii. Here's our breakdown of it. Look, and then the number 33. So this puts the total height of Mauna Kea about 33,500. It was 33.4 feet. I'm going to go with that. So 33,000 feet. Like, so nearly a mile taller than Everest. So I'm sitting there, it's like, whoa, fancy that. All the mountains that I've been up, that was the tallest one in the world. And I said about the stars and stuff. And I was thinking, what does that mean above, from bottom of the sea to above the sea? Am I at the same height then when people climb 33,000 feet and you hear people dying on Everest? And am I at the same height as them? Are we starting from the same foundation, like a flat thing? And I was trying to work that out. So that got me thinking yesterday. So I said, okay, so that was above sea level from the bottom of sea level. So I go, okay, what's the country at the lowest, below sea level then? Is there a country? Have a guess what country it is. So I typed, so that was the highest point above sea level, from the bottom of the sea level. What's the country bottom? I'm going to go with it anyway. Israel. And I had this moment. I'm like, what? So Israel is 414 feet below sea level. So I'm like, bottom of the earth. This is how my mind was thinking to start with. I'm thinking, bottom of the earth. What's at the bottom of the earth? Is that hell? And they're all fighting at the bottom of the earth. And then all of a sudden they realized, and I'm all these different things are going through my head. I'm thinking, okay, so let me search into it then. So what is the lowest point on earth? And it was top 10. Right at the bottom was the Dead Sea, Israel, which is about 10 kilometers. Look, at 33.7% of the devoid layer. So I'm thinking there's a lot of 33s in here as well. So Dead Sea, Israel. So now I'm thinking creation. The world that we see is us. And I've always been told that Israel is like the heart of the world. There's something else about it, regardless about the meanings and the label, it's the energy. They call it the Holy Land as well. So you've got the Muslim faith, Jewish faith, and Christian faith, and they all got in Jerusalem. It's now been. So I'm thinking all these different things, like there must be an energy to it there. But it's at the bottom of the earth. And so my head's going like this, and I'm trying to work out how does that make sense in relation to Hawaii then? Because Hawaii is quite a hot country. Egypt's on the equator, not Israel's kind of near the equator. And I couldn't put it together. And I couldn't work out, hang on, this don't make sense a tiny bit. So I do a tiny bit more on there. So instantly my head went to the flat earth model a tiny bit. So I'm saying, right, it's at the bottom of the earth. How does that make sense into it? And at first I'm like, does the world just go upwards? So, you know, when I said that 5D thing, we're looking at a map 3D, 2D. We're not looking at it depth and from God's position going down. So I'm trying to work out, and I come up with this idea yesterday. I'm like, and certain bits didn't make any sense. So I keep going a bit more. So I then look at and again, the flat earth, not the flat earth concept was amazing for me because it showed me how much we've been lied to from our maps. But as I've gone into, and look at, again, people, look at the number 33 again, look, the 10 lowest areas on Earth are listed below. we also have a list of 33 countries where lands below sea occurs. I've just shown you 3 articles, 33,000 feet from sea level for the mountain, 33% going down. Now there's 33 countries below sea level. 3 articles. So I'm like, if the storytellers about the narrative and stuff has always been created by God, then, and I've said this for a while, the maps, I've never understood how they did maps, how they made maps. How do we know that they're right? I know Africa's not the size of the map on there. And look at Russia, and it's bloody biggest country in the world, but you say it's China. And so I know maps don't work. And also the flat earth model says that doesn't work. It don't work at all. So watch this, people. This is then I was thinking, right, Israel, I look at it's the desert. It's desert people. It's Arabs. It's hot. If it's at the bottom of the earth, how can it be hot down there? And I'm trying to work out, but at the top of the mountain's cold. So can you see my logic? How does that make sense? If doesn't make any sense. So I'm sitting there looking at my map today, going, fuck. Apologies. I was like, oh, we look at the maps wrong. It's that way. They're spirals. It's downwards. It's depth. And then it hit me like that. Where was the sun born? Look. First of all, that's the Dead Sea. And I like the word dead as well. Christ was dead, right? So I'm like, shit. Looking at all this, I apologize for my language, because I don't normally swear. It's got me excited, this has, because it's thrown a whole new dimension on it. So what's this? Oh, where was Jesus Christ born? Bethlehem, Israel, 10 minutes, 10 kilometers from Jerusalem. I've been teaching for a while now, continuing to say to people, Christ is within us, Christ consciousness. You rise within Christ. The Son comes down, the Son of God, comes down to save you every day. You let the Son into your life, which means you have to let God into your life, and then you plant your seed every day. Apple, core, seed, at your root chakra. And then the sun comes up through your body, the straight and narrow path. It goes up your 33 vertebrae. And when you cross over, you die, leaving the human experience because you're one with the Father. That's a whole spiritual journey. So they're allegories. But those stories had to be written based on the world that we live in too, because everything is a mirror. So the Son of God, we look at it as Jesus Christ, this little dude from Bethlehem's got popped out in a manger, and by Mary, and the allegory still, the Son. So watch this. Let's see where people are now. As above, so below. Yeah, this and the other one that I shared today on the Q post, it says up is down, down is up, right is left, left is left. And I was thinking, we look at that about people, and everything we're seeing is back to front. I was also thinking the direction of the earth. Left is left because it's a spiral. Left just keeps going left. That's all you're doing, you're spiraling. So watch this. So Bethlehem, Christ. So for me now, it now makes sense if we look at the map again. So this map, just look at the color of the world as well, because what I didn't get either was how certain countries, like in Arizona where I was, it was 120 degrees every day. But how was the rest of America not like that? I couldn't work out the path or anything as well. Right, so this is the map that we're showing. I know that's wrong anyway. The world's not flat like that. It's a flat earth. I've said flat earth, flat earth. Let me just show you a flat earth map. I've got a photo of it in a minute. So like this. That's the model that we have been put forward, suggested. And people are, oh, no, it's not right, it's not right. It's not right either. However, what's quite interesting, so again, logos, numbers, and watch this, people. UN map. So the United Nations map, which we say UN's bad, has got a flat earth on it. And have a guess how many segments are in the flat earth map. 33. So I'm like, so when Jesus dies on the cross at 33, on the 33rd vertebrae, as it comes up, you become king. High king. You go high king. Israel's the highest place to the sun. Not the tallest or anything, highest place to the sun. That's where the sun starts every day. Get rid of time. We're like Australia and did it because we created the clock. And another guy that had a big impact of digitalizing the clock was Harry Truman. So I then go back to this map. So look from 3D or even on this. Let me try to show you the flat earth map as well. But first of all, look at, again, we say it's the equator countries. Look, because you've got all these countries, which is all like more deserty and stuff as well. So it starts, if you're closer to the sun, right, you're going to have less green, right? So I'm suggesting that Israel and then the Kingdom of Saudi Arabia, which is right neighboring it, and Saudi Arabia is the biggest funding of evil. We've got Iraq, Syria, Iran. Where's all the wars been? Where's all been evil? So if that was one of the first places, that means society's been there longer, not the timelines that we're told, because we've had to manipulate a lot of that too. But if it's more and more growing and people then venture out, more and more evil then gets around there first too. So try to look at it from a spiritual war, from people having to do messages. And now you've got, there's other lands, but we don't know who they are, where they are. And then you've got people discovering. We're told from our timelines, Egyptians were kind of like the first period. Again, our history, none of it makes sense. But then we had indigenous in Australia, they've been here a lot longer. And you had the indigenous and the Indian natives in America and Canada. And so try to look at it just from this. So again, this is where my mind's going. So allegories. So then I'm starting to look at it like this. Well, how would it make sense with the sun? And how's that over there? Go beyond countries. We've just made it up. It's land. There's mountains. There's depth from ocean layers. Then the sun goes round. So if the sun's the closest there, and again, I have to work on this because there's going to be loads of flaws from it. Now I'm looking at it as steps. It's like step down, steps across to Spain. Then you've got Greece. Then you've got Malta. You've got those countries. But it's at a higher level. So you can call that Europe. You can call that Africa. You can call that Asia. But really, the one continent is the one closest to the sun first. But it's just spread out because there's water and stuff in the way. It's all one land mass or one creation looking down. It's like a cup and or a bucket, and you've got the different. It's only the water that brings us level. So I'm starting to say then the reason why they put Israel in the 1945 because that was the original place and closest to the sun every day. And if you're getting in the way of God, like that would be the first place that people would want to go because the Son of God comes there. So from the earth, now it then starts to make sense of how many continents do we have? 7. How many chakras do we have? 7. How many planets originally were? 7. It's like everything mirrors, but it's down. So my thought process now then was, it goes in this kind of circle bit, but let me show the water next. So coming back to that spiral, watch the water, not the land, watch the water. Because if the sun goes down and then comes up, it spirals, then the closer it is to the water, there's less water. So it's like we're going downwards still. Does that make sense, people?